on as join us. Okay. All right. So, hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Lindsay Griffiths, the Executive Director of the International Lawyers Network, and I'm delighted to have you with us today for what I know will be a thought-provoking and genuinely useful session. As all of us in the legal profession know, our work demands deep focus, analytical rigor, and quite often heat in the middle of an adversarial moment. Today's program, Ever Ready Adversary, explores a skill set we don't always talk about openly in our field: how we can bring mindfulness and meditation techniques into our daily legal practice to manage those spontaneous impulses that arise even as we're processing the cool logic of law. This session will help us understand how to maintain a poised, grounded presence, one that not only enhances our professional performance, but also supports our long-term mental health and resilience. We're very fortunate to have with us John Marcoux, who will guide us through this intersection of mindfulness and legal practice. John brings a deep understanding of both the legal profession and the power of meditative awareness, and we're grateful he's here to share his expertise. So thanks for joining us, and with that, I will turn it over to John to begin.
Thank you, Lindsay. Adversarial legal system. Adversarial career ambitions. Adversarial business competition. Adversarial financial obligations. Adversarial political polarizations. My fellow attorneys, you process thousands of adversarial thoughts all day, most days. The last thing your mind needs is to be adversarial with itself. But according to the annual mental health surveys of our profession, cognitive conflicts smolder within most of us. And year after year, these survey results are not improving. Is all this anxiety, depression, burnout, overwhelming stress inevitable? Or are we missing something fundamental here? I am borderline obsessed with this issue. So I scrambled up the dozens of miseries identified in the surveys, mixed them up like jigsaw puzzle pieces, looking for patterns. I found that they fairly neatly arrange into 5 groups that correlate with 5 emotional impulses known to flare during adversarial cognition: fear, hopelessness, selfishness, half-heartedness, and surrender. Well, that's something. And then I wondered, what if, instead of playing whack-a-mole with each misery as it pops up, what if you could notice and control the 5 underlying inflammatory impulses that cause all these adversarial miseries to pop up? Nip them in the bud so that you can reduce your cognitive friction, increase your adversarial performance, and just feel better. I didn't know the answer. I'm no psychologist. I'm just curious. To find answers, I looked beyond the minds of lawyers specifically and into the minds of adversaries generally. Turns out the internal friction points are located where your 2 minds meet. I did not misspeak there. Your mind is not just a mind, it is 2 minds. 2 distinct systems known as fast brain and slow brain. So when I ask you, what's 2 plus 2? The answer 4 pops to mind. Knee-jerk reaction. That's your fast brain. Headquartered back here, limbic system, reptilian brain. Fast brain signals zip along at 172 miles per hour, 277 kilometers per hour from our European friends. Your autobahn brain. But if I ask you, what's 2,829 times 374? Right, no knee-jerk response. You need your slow brain to solve this one. That's headquartered in your forehead, prefrontal cortex, turtle brain. It moves slowly as it checks the logical validity of complex arguments. That's your job. Look at your resume. Every entry is the sweet, sweet fruit of your slow brain. If you are in my audience today, you are truly a slow brain master. Congratulations. Now, surely, your slow brain is your moneymaker, your franchise player, but it cannot flourish, and your career cannot flourish, and your life cannot flourish without a good fast brain dance partner. Most of the time, your fast and slow brains do move well together, but there are situations in which they are pulled in opposite directions. Consider the mind of a first responder showing up to a five-alarm fire. Fast brain sees the inferno and reflexively, intuitively, emotionally recoils from the danger. Yet simultaneously, and in perfect contrast, slow brain has been trained for this, trained to deliberately, consciously, rationally control these impulses, assess the situation, and deploy the best rescue maneuvers. Now you may be thinking, hey, John, that analogy does not fit my reality. On the surface, no. But internally, same friction points. Conflicts between fast and slow brains increase as adversarial cognition increases in frequency or intensity or both. First responders may experience more intense situations, sure, but frequency? Your job keeps you in adversarial thoughts, what, 8, 10, 12 hours a day, every day? Moreover, your fast brain impulses gain the upper hand over the slow brain when the adversarial cognition involves money, time, or fame, and your job has you charging money for your time and reputation. Unregulated, these fast brain impulses outmuscle your slow brain intentions. Or as psychologists say, the emotional tail wags the rational dog. How do we lawyers, we slow brain masters, compensate for fast brain dominance? Well, we ignore the fast brain impulses buzzing at the preconscious level as our slow brain stays preoccupied billing hours at the conscious level. We swat these impulses away like flies because we just don't know how to deal. They bother us. We conceal these impulses because we don't want to look weak in front of the others, do we? We numb ourselves to these impulses. 70% of all lawyers are classified as problem drinkers at some point, usually first 10 years of a career. And we delude ourselves into thinking our majestic, slow brains will suffice to carry us through. You look up at those fancy diplomas hanging on the wall and self-soothe. Oh, what a clever lawyer am I. You are smart as hell, but you're fooling yourself to think you're that smart. Here's the rub. These impulses, left unchecked, deplete your adversarial resolve, deplete your very will to compete, to confront, to contend, to oppose, to litigate, to negotiate, to get out of bed and fight for your clients. Most lawyers with whom I speak take this precious resource for granted and are only vaguely aware of depletion because it happens so slowly, so insidiously, like termites nibbling away at the wood beams in your home. But as your adversarial will depletes, your adversarial performance droops. Productivity, quality of work, collaborative powers, absenteeism, turnover. You call yourself an adversary, but you're just not as poised as you could be. Look, law school taught you how to participate in the external adversarial legal system, not how to regulate your internal adversarial mental system. Taught you how to reconcile your pleadings to your proof, not how to reconcile your emotional signals to your professional realities. Taught you how to protect your clients, not how to protect your mind as you protect those clients. No wonder our mental health metrics stink. You can change this. In this hour, you will visit for about 10 minutes with each of these 5 depleting impulses. And 1, get acquainted with their nature, the nature of the beasts. 2, Connect them to the miseries identified in our mental health surveys. And three, learn skills by which you can notice and control these impulses. With some practice, these new skills will enable you to reduce your cognitive friction, feel better, increase your adversarial performance, and sustain the inner resolve you need to be an ever ready adversary. Let's go. Okay, to appreciate how your mind experiences the adversarial impulse of fear, try this quick experiment. Glance at the image I am about to place in front of the camera as I paraphrase from a Nobel laureate about what your fast brain is doing. Your experience as you look at this man's face seamlessly combines what we normally call seeing and intuitive thinking. As surely as you saw the man is balding, you knew he is angry. Furthermore, what you saw extended into the future. You sense this man is about to say some very unkind words, probably about a legal matter. A premonition of what he was going to do next came to mind automatically and effortlessly. You did not intend to assess his mood or to anticipate what he might do. And your reaction to the picture did not have the feel of something you did. It just happened to you. It was an instance of fast brain thinking. Now compare that face to this face, a 19th century Himalayan ritual dance mask designed to inspire fear. The dancer who wears it is backed by a frightening entourage, all of whom whirl and stomp to subdue the enemy. Isn't this exactly what your law firm does when you send a cease and desist letter? You got the letterhead emblazoned with a prestigious law firm at the top, the expensive. It's the same thing. The frightening dance and the frightening letter both follow the advice from Sun Tzu's Art of War about how to confront the enemy. Begin with the donning of masks, uttering of dreadful threats, and if they fail, use weapons. Us lawyers leverage fear for our clients way better than we leverage it for ourselves. What do lawyers fear? Let's see. We fear losing, making a mistake, being discovered as an imposter, making enough money, having enough work, enough billable hours, enough clients, enough riz. We fear meeting deadlines, keeping our jobs, advancing our careers, facing judges, confronting opposing counsel, hearing from angry clients. We fear blind spots. Oh no, is opposing counsel going to outsmart me? We fear bad habits. Oh no, I forgot to enter my billables again. We fear critical feedback. Oh no, someone is going to point out that I am flawed. 90% of all lawyers rate below average at receiving criticism. Psychologists see this as inevitable in an industry that praises perfectionism and shows little empathy for mistakes. More on that in a bit. So, what do you do about all this fear? For starters, to regulate any fear, externalize, weigh, and uncouple that fear. First, externalize your fear. When your fear is quarantined between your ears, it holds the power to vex you. Once you air it out, the power shifts in your favor. So, as fast as possible, jot it down or tell somebody what your fear is. Name the potential danger, risk, loss, or injury you are staring at. If you can articulate your fear, it is no longer preconscious, it is conscious. You are aware of it, and you can now control it. Second, weigh your fear. Place the fear you've externalized on one side of a scale, and on the other side, place the greater good to be served by acting despite that fear. You are mounting a slow brain comparison process on top of the fast brain impulse, same as you'd mount a saddle and reins on a horse to keep it from bolting. Once you've weighed the risk against the reward, decide. Call it the courage calculation. If the fear outweighs the greater good, refrain from acting. But if the greater good outweighs the fear, act by moving on to the third step. Uncouple your fear from the good to be served, as you would uncouple a train car from a locomotive. You have decided to act, so why continue to clutch that fear? Scaredy cat lawyer. Let go. I teach meditation classes that guide students to visualize themselves filling a balloon with their fears, and then either letting go of the string or cutting it. Well, I've got a ceiling, but you watch it, you visualize it going off into the deep blue, boundless sky, out of sight, out of mind. Okay, that's how you convert any fear into courage. Now, how do you build courage that you can summon when needed? Practice courageous breathing, known as box breathing. Equalize 4 seconds inhale, 4 seconds hold, 4 seconds exhale, 4 seconds hold. First responders and military special forces train with box breathing to control their heart rate and focus when entering infernos and combat zones. Practice it daily. You fumble a little bit, it's okay. It will settle your nerves right now and deliver the goods when you need it. Another courage builder, simply label yourself courageous. I know it sounds crazy, but it is proven to work. As easily as you can limit yourself with an imposter label, you can elevate yourself with a hero label. Maybe the greatest technique for building courage is witnessing courage. Courage is contagious, you know. Watch courageous films. Movies are perfect vehicles for transmitting emotional contagions. Psychologists have tested thousands of movies for their power to stimulate bravery within audience members. They've got textbooks on it. Lindsay will distribute to you a PDF takeaway listing the 5-star films for catching courage, as well as for catching the other character contagions we'll discuss today. To refine your situational awareness of courage, develop what Aristotle called a golden mean, a virtuous sweet spot between the unvirtuous extremes of cowardice and foolhardiness. For gutless behavior, observe PFC Upham in the film Saving Private Ryan, named Worst Coward Ever Put on Film by a large survey of military veterans. And from the real news, read about the lily-livered police of Uvalde, Texas, who waited 77 minutes before confronting a mass shooter in an elementary school. For foolhardiness, read the death notices for those reckless souls who take selfies too close to the edge of a cliff or too close to dangerous wild animals. Keep your aim in between cowardly and foolhardy, in the courage zone. Assemble a mental highlight reel of courageous acts that hit you where it counts. Recall witnessing bravery at formative moments in your life. Indiana Jones really did it for me when I was 12 years old, still does. Who lights you up? Merely thinking of them will boost your courage. And watch courageous lawyers in film. Atticus Finch physically guarding his client's jail cell from the lynch mob in To Kill a Mockingbird. And Lieutenant Caffey interrogating the corrupt colonel from Guantanamo in A Few Good Men. The more examples of courage you notice, the more access you will have to courage, the more likely you will be ready for your own fearsome adversarial encounters. So that's the impulse of fear. Set it off with courage. Now let us shift our attention to the adversarial impulse of hopelessness, of having zero expectation of success. This is pessimism run amok, an easy concept to grasp because all lawyers are pessimists by trade. Pessimistic thinking is the bedrock of our professional prudence. Scanning horizons for potential threats makes you good at what you do. But while this keenly realistic perspective is valuable while billing hours, Dwelling in its dark shadows is not always constructive. Lawyers who overdo the pessimism thing are several times more likely than average optimists to believe that they won't make partner. The whole legal profession is a racket. Their spouse is unfaithful, and the economy is going to tank. Known as maladaptive pessimism, it's a high risk factor for depression, and it fuels imposter syndrome, self doubt, anxiety, and work related dread. Essentially, as your slow brain is grinding to win, 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 your fast brain is forecasting loss, loss, loss. The mischief maker here has been identified by psychologists as your internal storyteller, that voice inside of you explaining how bad events happen. Imagine the kinds of bad events, bad news you might receive as a lawyer. Lost a motion, lost a negotiation, lost a case, lost a client, lost a colleague, lost this year's bonus, lost your job, lost your license to practice. What's your style for explaining such bad news? Are you prone to spin it with positivity, to see a silver lining? Or do you tend to crash out in the parlance of our times? Your explanatory style formed during adolescence and now feels hardwired, but it's not. So when bad news strikes, a surge of fast brain impulses crowd your storyteller with stimuli, pestering it to pop three poisonous P's: pervasive, pernicious, and personal finger pointing. What are they? When you experience a bummer, do you hear yourself saying, "Oh no, this is going to ruin everything"? That's a pervasive attribution. It predicts that a misfortune in one part of your life is about to spill over into all dimensions of your life. Time to call your script doctor to revise that story and contain the blast zone to specific, non pervasive consequences. You say something like, okay, it could harm X and maybe Y, but not A through Z. Similarly, when a bummer strikes, do you hear yourself saying, oh no, this will ruin me forever? That's a pernicious attribution. It predicts that a misfortune is about to spark never ending consequences. Revise your story to show the effects are temporary. Hey, this too shall pass. Warning: if you attribute both pervasive and pernicious causes to bad news, that's the clinical definition of despair. Talk to a counselor. There's still one more P: personal. Oh no, I caused this. It's all my fault. Change your script by attributing a non personal cause to the loss. If you blame yourself for losing a client, for instance, think and say something like, hey, the tariffs caused my client's bankruptcy, not me. To change any of these overly pessimistic attributions, that is to say, to change pervasive to specific, pernicious to temporary, or personal to non personal, simply identify one credible optimism. How? Conduct discovery. Marshal evidence to expose an error in the attribution. The moment you identify a logical flaw in your assessment, poof, the depleting pessimism evaporates. You break the spell. Or let's say discovery fails to reveal a rational distortion. Maybe there is some truth to your pessimism. Okay. Decatastrophize. Ask, what is the worst case scenario? I lose everything forever. What's the best case scenario? Hey, maybe nobody notices and I get away with it. What's the likely scenario? I'm going to take some heat, but life will go on. The answers are really secondary. The principal value is in animating your slow brain to compare and contrast multiple potential outcomes. Your laser beam ruminations on one awful outcome suddenly dilate to a floodlight of possibilities, and the pessimism spell is broken. That's how you notice and control maladaptive pessimisms. Now, how do you build optimism? Some hopeful techniques. Practice circumferential breathing. Try it as I talk you through it. Place one hand on your navel, one hand on your heart. Exhale all your breath. Shh. And when you think you're empty, push more. Then inhale slowly through your nose. And feel first your waistline only, slowly expanding out in all directions. As your belly approaches maximum, then begin expanding your rib cage. When exhaling, reverse the movement, letting your ribs sink first, then your belly. Repeat up to 10 cycles. If you feel a touch of dizziness, great. That's a full breath. Another optimistic technique is called flexible pessimism. Turn it on when it helps your work, turn it off when it doesn't. Intentionally choose to be optimistic whenever you wish to achieve, to lead, or to get healthy. These aspirations vary among us. In my entertainment practice, achieving means writing a difficult brief that both persuades the court and garners juicy headlines in the industry trades. Leading means persuading colleagues that the one-liners I've drafted to sting arrogant celebrities won't rub the judge wrong. Getting healthy means getting out of my head and into my body every day. That's optimism for work. Now, how to jumpstart optimism after work? Psychologists recommend sensory triggers: sound, smell, touch, taste. At the end of the day, some lawyers hear their car doors slam shut. Boom. And it signals to them the work is done, time to be hopeful. Or try activating two senses. Snap a rubber band around the wrist, followed by a whiff of perfume or scented candle. This works for Broadway actors about to step out onto the stage and perform. And build hope by witnessing hope. Watch Andy Dufresne in Shawshank Redemption or Elle Woods in Legally Blonde, who keep hope alive despite considerable forces arrayed against them. Beware being over-optimistic, like Voltaire's Candide, who is convinced he is living in the best of all possible worlds. Or under-optimistic, like Chicken Little, who only cries, "The sky is falling." One supremely potent way to build hope is to witness optimism in your own life. Every evening, after brushing your teeth but before sleeping, jot down what went well that day. Name three things. You don't need smashing successes. Maybe you woke up after a solid sleep and feel refreshed. Or you held a door for somebody who gave you a warm smile. Or you completed that task that had been lingering on your desk. It's not at all about the size of the victory. The daily practice is like wearing braces on your teeth. It straightens out your negativity bias within 2 weeks, empirically validated. The more you align your optimism to your realities and ambitions, the more likely you will be ready to manage risky adversarial encounters. Okay, we did fear, we did pessimism. Now let's contemplate the adversarial impulse to be selfish. Hey, you got to look out for number one, right? It's tough out there. You're in a prestigious firm, super competitive profession. You did not get here by ignoring your personal ambitions. Am I right? And so you feel impulses to act in your self-interest. To hell with the rest of them. There is a known phenomenon where this happens to the max, a phenomenon called tragedy of the commons. It involves a group of individuals who share access to common resource. Each individual starts acting in one's own self-interest and not in the group's interest. And each assumes that everyone else with access is also acting in their interest and not in the group's interest. Let's say the resource is an ancient forest of gigantic, valuable trees. Each individual starts chopping down a tree a day. Hey, gotta feed my family, right? They clear cut the forest. Common resource gone. This has also been documented in overfished seas, depleted groundwater, congested traffic. Lawyers and firms share common but limited resources too. The firm's name, reputation, clients, billable hours, client access, recognition. Experts who study law firm culture have identified the ways the tragedy plays out. Junior associates dodge non-billable work because they need hours. Senior associates cling to delegable work because they need hours too. Equity partners prioritize profits over staffing despite unmanageable workloads. And cutthroats at all levels pursue perverse incentives as they vie for their share of the limited resources. As more lawyers pursue their self interest, cynicism festers. The firm resembles a bunch of individual practices sharing a common name, office space, and website. Your fast brain chirps, everybody for themselves. What to do? Regulate your selfish impulses by fastening your loyalty connections. We're not talking about loyalty owed to the client, but to your colleagues, to those in the proverbial foxhole battling by your side for shared causes. Your firm? Yes. Your practice group? Sure. But really, focus on your day to day working crew. The more mutual trust, social cohesion, and common purpose among your crew, the more adversarial resolve each individual in that crew will have. There's one area in law firm culture where such loyalty is woefully deficient. To explain, let's take a quick trip to Antarctica. Now, I'm told people are just done with PowerPoint presentations, so I'm trying to keep it fundamental here. This is on my phone. It's a video clip, a time lapse clip of emperor penguins. I hope you can see it. So it's middle of winter. It's negative 40 degrees with wind gusts over 100 miles per hour, 160 kilometers per hour. No penguin can survive alone, so they huddle. The penguins on the outer ring bear the brunt, but not for long. Can you see? I hope you can see on my phone how they shuffle along an arc around the edge and take shelter in the middle. The other penguins take their turn blocking the wind, and so on. They all maintain extraordinarily disciplined spacing. Their bodies never touch, but their feathers are always touching, so that every pair maintains a layer of insulating air, like down jackets. If any penguin gets too close or too far from his or her neighbor, that insulating factor drops to zero, like when someone leaves the front door open in the winter. Layers and layers of insulation allow the temperature at the center of this huddle to exceed 80 degrees Fahrenheit, over 30 degrees Celsius. The Germans have a word for this: Gemeinschaftsgefühl, social connectedness and interest in others' well being as a means for achieving individual and group success. Lawyers can emulate the penguins and enact Gemeinschaftsgefühl by mitigating the law firm's scourge of high perfectionism and low empathy. We talked about that a few ago. The technique is known as next play, credited to a famous basketball coach, Mike Krzyzewski, Coach K. For decades, he led hard-charging, elbow-throwing, adversarial perfectionists. After a player made a mistake, most games, the team huddled for a timeout. What did Coach K do? Criticize? Lament? Curse? Seethe? Give up? No, he said two words: next play, and then walked the team through how to proceed. Why was that so effective? Next time you make a mistake, become aware of your fast brain's auto response, rapid firing, selfish impulses to spin it, deflect it, minimize it, fret over it. We've all done this. Oh, my colleague didn't warn me. The judge missed the point. It was not on my calendar. I thought you were supposed to proofread it. Ah, I'm such an idiot. This draws your attention to what happened, not to what's happening. And because your slow brain can only process one thing at a time, you are just not ready to face encroaching threats. You're looking in the rearview mirror, not in the windshield. Saying next play extinguishes the selfish impulses swarming your slow brain, restores your readiness for threats coming your way, and affords you and your crew some space to graciously recover and learn from human error. Other loyalty building techniques: back breathing. Imagine you are a cyclist racing in the Tour de France. Try it now. Lean forward and place your elbows on top of your knees. In this position, you cannot circumferentially breathe. But if you exhale completely, you can still direct your inhalation to expand your hunchback. Sense that ballooning movement across the whole back. It's not dramatic, but a subtle inflation spread across the whole back side. Try it a few times, and you'll start to feel expansion even along your sides. Bingo. When you straighten up, you'll be using more of your breathing muscles better. And of course, you should witness the golden mean of loyalty located between selfishness and blind adherence. Check out King Joffrey from the Game of Thrones, voted the most selfish character ever. He infamously bragged, "Everyone is mine to torment." And I think of an equity partner, Paul Dougherty, who ran a $7 billion fraudulent tax shelter scheme that caused the extinction of my former 600 lawyer firm. At the other extreme, take note of the lawyers blindly adhering to AI generated court pleadings without verifying their accuracy. These lawyers are getting raked over the coals for abandoning their oaths to critically analyze and legally reason. Movies are full of heroes who sacrifice their self interest for the group's cause. Listen to the cri de coeur of Woody in Toy Story 3. We're all in this together. Relish Samwise Gamgee from The Lord of the Rings, who at the critical moment tells his overburdened comrade, "I can't carry it for you, but I can carry you." Show me real world lawyers helping overwhelmed or incapacitated colleagues without griping about it or neglecting their own needs, and I'll show you a firm of lawyers who are ready to rumble. Okay, that's selfishness and that's loyalty. The next adversarial impulse you want to regulate is surrender. Ever attend a sporting event in which your team is losing so badly, you look at the clock and the score and conclude, there's no winning. Let's get out of here. Ever feel that impulse to quit, capitulate, throw in the towel, head for the exits? It's natural, it's human, and it is common to our industry where every legal matter presents win-loss horizons and where, according to our mental health surveys, our principal troubles are stress and workload, being always on call, and feeling overcommitted and overwhelmed. The human mind is built to manage relatively short bursts of stress, but modern law practice resembles a perpetual stress test, causing the chronic, unsustainable elevation of cortisol levels. Perfect conditions for triggering the impulse to quit. Is it any wonder why 90% of all lawyers of all ages, all experience levels, demonstrate remarkably low levels of resilience? And yet, you've got to persevere, take care of business, persist despite obstacles, setbacks, finish what was started, get it off the desk, out the door, and achieve closure. That's the job. You must tend to your duties. To frame it in today's talk, you must summon a slow brain will to perform tasks that are boring, frustrating, or difficult, despite contrary fast brain impulses tempting you to quit and do something easier and perhaps more pleasurable. How best to persevere? For starters, you can enable perseverance by engaging in what you believe are attainable goals that yield rewards for effort. You're already doing this in your law firm job. The attainable goal is billing steady hours on client matters. The rewards for those efforts are paychecks, retirement funds, prestige. That's the basics. You could go beyond that and set additional goals for additional rewards, such as bringing in new clients, for example, or developing expertise in a niche area of your practice. We all know lawyers who have become the go to masters of their domains. Their rewards are boosted reputations, increased demand for their services, and more remunerative prospects. Nothing tames the impulse to surrender like success. Other techniques for practicing perseverance. Make priority checklists. If you drift from your mission, a checklist gets you back on track going forward. Further, visualize yourself at the end of the journey. What does it look like, feel like to achieve your goal? Sense and savor that reward. And enlist assistance from family, friends, and colleagues. Social connections are powerful motivators to keep on keeping on. You can also build perseverance by practicing hunter breathing. As an adversary with goals, you are on a hunt with a chase and a finish. To sustain the chase, monitor a 1-to-1 inhale to exhale ratio. Swimmers, joggers, walkers all naturally fall into this rhythm. Once upon a time, I successfully concluded a patent litigation in its 17th year and noticed the originating supervising partner was looking pretty shaky at the end. He could have used some breathing lessons. When your chase crescendos to a finish, deliberately shift your breathing rhythm to meet your moment by extending your exhales longer than your inhales. Study Olympic biathletes who ski cross country, major cardio, and then pause at ranges to shoot a rifle at a target from distance. When they stop skiing, they draw an inhale as they take aim. They lengthen the first exhale, inhale again, and then lengthen the second exhale. At the end of the second elongated exhale, when their heart rate has slowed and their nerves have settled, they pull the trigger. Elongate your exhale when you need to hit the bullseye too. Witness compelling displays of perseverance, as exemplified in the Oscar-winning legal dramas Erin Brockovich, where an undeterred Julia Roberts hounds a corporate behemoth over toxic torts, and The Verdict, where a down and almost out Paul Newman litigates a medical negligence case against one of the nation's most powerful attorneys. Your golden mean is located between too little perseverance, oh, you lazy, slothful procrastinators,
I saw that.
and too much perseverance. Obsessiveness can blind you
Okay,
from
that's a
knowing
little
when to say
strong.
when. Is it okay? Somebody talking?
Okay.
You're taking time.
Yeah.
Somebody's mic is on. Anyway,
You've never gotten back to me on anything.
Yeah.
the Japanese are famous for perseverance. They've got a persevering culture. Their famous proverb Nana Kurobi Yaoki, translates to fall down 7 times, stand up 8, urging to see yourself as a self-writing doll who gets up no matter how often you get knocked over. If this proverb were taught as a meditative mantra from the first day of law school, lawyers' resilience rates would skyrocket. Also out of Japan, consider the mind-boggling perseverance of Hiro Onoda, an intelligence officer stationed in the Philippines at the end of World War II. As his unit was withdrawing, his commanding officer ordered him to stay in the jungle and fight and never give up, promising him, it may take 3 years, it may take 5 years, but we will come back for you. That was in 1945. The war ended a few months later. Nobody came back. Hiru kept following his orders, hiding in the jungle, foraging for food, conducting guerrilla warfare. For 29 years. In 1974, a Japanese student heard rumors of World War II soldiers haunting old combat zones. So he traveled to the Philippines, walked the jungle, and was calling out in Japanese. Onoda emerged from the dense foliage, listened to the student, reviewed the news clippings, but suspected this was an enemy counterintelligence trick, and so he refused to leave his post. The student went to the Japanese embassy and explained the situation. They went back to Japan and located Onoda's commanding officer, now a veteran business executive, who flew to the jungle, found Onoda, explained that the Japanese had lost the war, saluted Onoda, and declared him relieved of duty. Now persuaded, Onoda returned the salute and wept. This is the picture of them leaving the jungle after he found out he just spent 29 years there doing his duty. When his story broke, all of Japan caught the contagion of his awesome character. When asked by a journalist, "What had been on your mind all that time in the jungle?" he replied, and I quote, "Nothing but accomplishing my duty." The epitome of single-minded concentration and perseverance. Listen, if any of you lawyers get an order from your firm that causes you to wait 29 years outside a judge's chambers or something, it would be my honor to represent you in negotiations for the life story, book rights, merchandising, Netflix deal. And if your advance check is less than 5 million, my services are free of charge. May the spirit of Hiru Onoda be with you throughout your adversarial career. Show me a lawyer who falls down and keeps getting up day after day, decade after decade, and I'll show you an adversary ready to keep fighting. The final adversarial impulse we'll address today is that of half-heartedness. You do the work, but you're not really psyched about it. You work long hours managing the practice, documents, billing, research, deadlines, meetings, letters, emails, texts, phone calls, Zoom, Slack, Teams, AI, vexatious opponents, unreasonable clients, and frustrating colleagues. You've got the physical fatigue, mental fatigue, emotional fatigue, platform fatigue, career fatigue, life fatigue, fatigue. Your slow brain says, keep billing and carry on, as your fast brain sighs, I'm just not that into it. Where, oh, where might you find the energy to practice wholeheartedly? Let's start by reframing your concept of what your energy is. Psychologists and physicians have arrived at a consensus that you have one battery pack powering all your physical, mental, and emotional activity. They call it by the name it was originally given in the Far East, Ki, Ki, or Chi, as in Tai Chi. Fact. Adversarial advantage belongs to the side with the superior Ki. As a professional adversary, you want abundant Ki to sustain your daily, weekly, yearly burn rates. Adversarial cognition runs hot as a general matter, but within the firm culture, which prioritizes billable hours, perfectionism, and relentless hard work over cognitive resilience, your mental engine runs even hotter. And that makes you more susceptible to overheating, mental exhaustion, and burnout. As your Ki depletes, your decision-making abilities devolve towards simplistic, risk-averse choices instead of nuanced, strategic ones. No bueno, abogados. In addition to having enough gas for your day-to-day adventures, you also want enough Ki to engage when extraordinary adversarial battles erupt. It may be the deciding factor. Ask any veteran lawyer, hey, what's that one case, one deal, one client, one opposing counsel that just took the starch out of you? Watch their faces darken as they share their recollections. I reside a few doors down from a retired district attorney who oversaw the prosecution of a grisly 1993 mass murder here in Illinois. Neighbors who lived on the block back then speak with wide eyes and in hushed tones when they recall witnessing him rapidly age through the investigation, conviction, and appeals. Stay vigilant for energy leaks. What are you doing when you're not working? 6 p.m. to midnight? Weekends? Smartwatches have alerted more than one of my acquaintances to massive sleep disruptions caused by consuming alcohol. That's a physical leak, but it's also a mental and emotional leak because, hey, your key draws off the same battery, remember? Do you catch yourself ruminating, doom scrolling negative thoughts, feelings, or problems, replaying past negative events, or worrying about future negative possibilities? Major key leakage. Once you plug up the leaks, fill your key reservoir so that you may live zestfully with an aliveness that feels great and makes you stand apart. Locate your golden mean of zest between the unattractive extremes of too little, lethargy, indolence, ennui, boredom, and too much key, off-putting, manic, hyperactivity. Identify the artists who infect you with their joie de vivre. For me, well, it's been over 40 years since I saw Freddie Mercury performing live on stage, and I still haven't seen anyone exude more life force than that. Noticed how five-star Zest films show protagonists living an exuberant life despite being caught in oppressive circumstances. Check out My Left Foot, The 400 Blows, Cool Hand Luke, and Life is Beautiful. Stimulating your zest yields miracle drug-like results. Zest lowers absenteeism, burnout, and turnover, buffers against mental illnesses. Psychologists consider zest to be the opposite of depression and anxiety. Zest makes you and your message more attractive to others, correlates to higher life satisfaction, and even extends your life. So try the following techniques, empirically proven to instigate zest. Purchase experiences, not things. Share positive experiences with others. Confront nature, not technology. Wear a pop of color. Adopt strong body language, no slouching. Take breaks from news and media. Put the sizzle back into a passion that you let fizzle. Exercise to feel robust physical and mental health. Experiment with mental imagery of a place that you associate with positive emotions, your happy place. And meditate. The ultimate go-to meditation is breathing awareness. You can do it anytime because you are always breathing. Paying attention to your breath harmonizes your fast and slow brains. It's a big win. When you start doing it, your wild mind will drift to other matters. Totally normal. The more you practice, the more you stay in the moment, the more you become ready for whatever adversarial energies come your way. Let me guide you through a 2-minute breathing awareness meditation right now. Shift your body in your seat and get comfy so you feel no urge to fidget. Exhale your lungs until empty. Draw a slow inhale through your nostrils until you feel your lungs stretch. Now slowly exhale and feel your rib cage sink. Let your body go limp. Close your eyes and quickly become motionless. Become aware of the right side of your body. Soften the whole right side. Now feel the left side of your body and let the left side soften. Can you soften the left side more than the right side? Let your whole body soften. Now settle into the natural rhythm of your automatic breath. Notice your inhalation. Just notice it. No need to change it. Don't need to improve it. Just notice the inhalation. Feel your exhalation. Without controlling it, just feel the physical sensation of the exhale. Observe your inhale. Feel your exhale. Body effortlessly breathing all by itself, quietly, slowly. Nothing else exists right now but your breath. Sense your torso move as your breath moves. Inhale, torso expands. Exhale, torso settles. Begin to feel the pause between the breath. Feel the gap. Observe the reversal of direction of breath. Notice your breaths are the waves of the ocean. Breath washes in, breath washes out. Vitality washes in, stress washes out. Feel the waves of breath flow through you. Breath cleansing your body, refreshing your mind. When you inhale, sense yourself growing lighter, gently lifting into the air, floating like a balloon. When you exhale, feel your body go heavy, leaden, sinking with gravity. Inhale, and you are light and floating. Exhale, heavy as lead. Without moving, just imagine your fingers and toes wiggling. Now wiggle your fingers and toes. Feel how alive it is. Notice how great your mind and body feel. Now take an exaggerated inhale. Move around and stretch in your seat, lengthen your spine, and slowly open your eyes. Not rocket science, just listening and observing, feeling the breath. Every day, 3,000 gallons of air flow in and out of your lungs, and 25% of all the oxygen you breathe fuels your brain, or I should say, fuels your two brains. If you wish to control your mental state, control your breathing. During fearful encounters, box breathe. 4 seconds inhale, 4 seconds hold. 4 seconds exhale, 4 seconds hold. So you can make the clear-headed calculations that a courageous lawyer needs to make. Amid chronic pessimisms, circumferentially breathe. Inhale, belly max, then chest max. Exhale, chest sink, then belly sink. So you can stretch out into the credible optimisms an adept lawyer needs to achieve, to lead, and to be healthy. Hunched over by selfish hyper-competition, back breathe to recruit those often difficult to reach allegiances by which loyal colleagues graciously protect and support each other. While tempted to quit in the middle of a long hunt, equalize the lengths of your inhales and your exhales to help you persist. To finish the hunt, extend your exhales longer than your inhales, and you will slow your heart rate, calm your nerves, and hit your targets with precision. Between any tasks, indulge in a few minutes to cease and desist from all that adversarial thinking. Close your eyes and simply observe the natural, automatic breath that has been sustaining your life for 24 hours a day, every day since the day you were born. Now pay attention, lawyers, because you need to hear this. You possess a magnificent mind, and there are far less of those on this planet than you'd suspect. You have chosen to use your rare and wonderful mind to work in the harsh and unremittingly competitive legal industry. You are a professional adversary. You think adversarial thoughts. This triggers adversarial impulses that make you adversarial with yourself. These sneaky fast impulses inflame all the miseries documented in the lawyer mental health surveys. The more you notice these impulses, the more you can control them, the more liberated you become from internal frictions, and the more resolute you shall be while serving as an ever ready adversary. Thank you.
Thanks so much, John. We really
You're welcome.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
I hope everyone else got as much out of it as I did. And we will be sending out the handout that John mentioned, as well as a copy of the recording to everybody. So if you want to watch part of this again, listen to John's meditations again, you are welcome to do that. And we thank everybody so much for joining us today.